Hi, everybody in North American Freight Waves Tech Conference land. My name is Michael Reed. I am joined today by my good friend Vernon O'Donnell from Project 44. And today we've got some pretty fun, exciting topics to cover in the wide world of logistics technology. Vernon, maybe you want to kind of kick us off here, introduce yourself, and kind of get rolling from there?
Yeah, hey, thanks, Mike, and great seeing you again as always, even if it's in a virtual world instead of in person.
Exactly.
So my name is Mike mentioned, Vernon O'Donnell. I'm the Chief Product Officer here at Project 44. We're a visibility platform based in Chicago. Been with the company about 3 years. Moved into the product role 10 months ago. Know Mike well from working together here at P44 and also just broader industry relationships. So really looking forward to the discussion today, Mike.
Yeah, same here. And just to, formalities. Like I said, my name is Michael Reed. I am also the Chief Product Officer, but at Redwood Logistics. Had the pleasure to work with Vernon for that time as well at Project 44, and a long time ago fell into the freight logistics space, as I know you kind of did too, a little bit more recently, and just never left. It's become home here, and really enjoy the maturity overall in the last 10, 15 years within the space, and look forward to a lot of the future potentials that a lot of these newer and progressive, but also some of the more mature companies have within the space, and just excited about where we're headed in general. And I guess to get us kicked off, we've had some pretty big, exciting news between the two companies in the last couple weeks. We've just recently announced a partnership between Redwood Logistics and Project 44. Why don't we just get started there, Vernon? What does this partnership mean to you and to the Project 44 team? And maybe we can talk a little bit after that on kind of how we see this as a 1 + 1 = 3 type of equation for our mutual and hopefully more prospective customers in the future.
Yeah, so Mike, I think it starts with a bit of a natural relationship. Obviously, our companies are both here in Chicago, and we've got some shared connections from a talent and leadership perspective. But more importantly, I think Redwood and Project 44 have a similar vision of supply chain platforms and network connectivity and where that's going. And ultimately, no one company can do all of this by themselves. We're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars spent on freight every year, and even multiples more than that on inventory. And so it's all about finding the right partners with the right mindset, filling in different parts of that supply chain visibility needs to deliver great value to the customers. So P44, we really view ourselves, and our role is to be that connective tissue, to really be that source of truth for data and data fidelity, connecting the network and illuminating that on behalf of our customers. And we felt like, given Redwood's view as with the Redwood Connect product and the LPass product, it just made a ton of sense for us to partner and bring that visibility into a more execution-oriented platform. Mike, I guess from your side, I'd turn it back on you too. How do you feel about it? What was the big driver from the Redwood side?
Honestly, Vernon, it's a lot of the same things you talked about. I have had the pleasure, I will say sincerely, of working at both companies, and the DNA from a leadership, but from a full cultural standpoint, are very well aligned. Right, our philosophies towards providing real intrinsic value to our mutual customers is deep within the organization, both organizations, and really our approach from I guess what I'll call more from a technical standpoint, right? Really the focus on cleanliness of data, thinking about the digital side of freight logistics and the macro ecosystem in general. But there is a topic that I know, Vernon, you and I chatted about multiple times before in the past, and probably one of the reasons why both of our companies are a little bit more in tune than maybe others in the space towards these types of real partnerships, not just kind of press release and forget about it type partnerships, but like actual value, putting time, energy, engineering resources into these partnerships is the kind of the cultural and fundamental nature of thinking about open ecosystems, right? You mentioned it, like no single company can do this alone. I truly believe, as much as what I would call kind of some of these mega suite, companies of the past, the value that they provide is immense. But I believe that that time of an all-encompassed system is not with us anymore. There's so many new entrants, so many awesome, maturing companies in the space. Our goal with, obviously, as you mentioned, Redwood Connect, but our broader logistics platform as a service model is really to provide our customers a open ecosystem and connect. Redwood Connect as a product is a iPaaS capability that helps make that reality. And to maybe an untrained eye, you might say, well, Redwood Connect and Project 44 have a lot of similarities. Are they competitive? And I think this is kind of a proof in the pudding that they're mutually exclusive, but towards the same end goal. And I think that's really why I kind of keep referencing this 1 + 1 = 3 type engagement.
I'd say 1 + 1 = 10. But yeah, I think Mike, just piggybacking on that, and it's something that I passionately believe, and I think is critical for everybody in supply chain technology and supply chain execution, and really the transportation logistics industry at large to embrace is it's impossible for any one company to do anything. Even if you look at the largest logistics companies in the world, they see probably less than 5% of the world's freight in aggregate. And so the only way our customers, our mutual customers, have a chance at that true end-to-end visibility, that true end-to-end experience is through these types of partnerships, and more importantly, through that mindset of an open platform. It creates a better user experience. They're not bouncing around from system to system because they're able to collaborate across a single ecosystem. And also, frankly, it starts to normalize standards, right? The more people that collaborate and interact in this open ecosystem, the more standards start to become coherent and solidified, and that those norms start to really become baked into the ecosystem. And that just makes it better for everybody, because then we can all become more efficient in how we're building products, how we're solving problems, and really providing a better service to our customers. So it's something that, and again, P44 well, and we know Redwood well. It really was the big draw, right? And why we never really saw this as a competitive situation. We really felt it was just two like-minded companies with similar views on things coming together to provide a better customer experience. And I'm really excited for what the LPaaS concept means, and how that ties to a visibility platform, and then ultimately what that's going to mean for our shipper customers and 3PL customers and partnerships with forwarders and everybody else in the ecosystem.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we've talked about it a lot in years past, but there tends to be, at least from my opinion, a lot of these types of partnerships that are all smoke and really no substance behind them. I will say, from a testament standpoint, our teams are already, fully moving down integration best practices. So if you think about how these two, companies and platforms and capabilities will come together from an actual, implementation standpoint, but driving even higher value together towards our mutual customers, right? Having, for example, the Project 44 capabilities native into Redwood Connect, right? So then our implementation teams have what I would consider best practices on how to not only integrate these capabilities, these services, the data that comes from Project 44 into best-in-breed TMSs, but also then how to drive additional workflow value and additional automation capabilities and things like that our mutual customers want to be able to provide. I guess maybe back to you, Vernon. Are there any other bigger value propositions that you see out of this from a where the rubber meets the road standpoint?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing, and it's really how I think about the value creation for our customers. Their needs are immense. Supply chains are complicated, and the one thing that's consistent is that there's a lot of friction in the technology, right? There's just friction in every step. The implementation, there's friction in the usage, there's friction in how they talk to each other. And I think the thing that makes me most excited about this is just taking friction out across multiple different spectrums, right? Redwood connects and their ability to to deeply integrate with some of the TMS partners at scale through that platform. What or LPaaS means in terms of the ability to create a SaaS-like experience from a logistics provider, and then ultimately tying that back together with the high fidelity, mass aggregated data that P44 has. It's just simplifying things, and it's just removing that friction. And look, I think I'd say this to an audience that knows this well. Supply chain is hard enough as is. Right? There's always something, right? Like there's the Ever Given in the Suez Canal. There's cranes falling off of ports. There's this little thing called COVID. There's change in tariffs and border congestions. So there's enough constraint in the physical world and moving goods that the more friction and less constraints we introduce through technology, the better everyone is. And that's why it just continuously circles back to the mindset needs to be openness. The mindset needs to be collaborative. The mindset needs to be we're all in this together. Ultimately, there's not going to be just one tech winner. There's not just going to be one company that dominates all of this. There's going to be a collection of winners across all the various spectrums: analytics, orchestration, visibility, logistics providers, and execution as well. So I think that to me is the part that I find most exciting. But speaking of things going on in the broader ecosystem, Mike, you're a longtime industry guy, worked at a lot of really exciting companies. What do you think? What else are you seeing in the market? How are you feeling about not just Redwood and P44, but just more broadly where things are going from a supply chain technology perspective?
It's crazy. I remember. Now I feel old. Now you're making me feel old, Vernon. Thank you for doing that. But being in this space for it's been almost 17, 18 years. I remember coming into it literally as a computer science major, writing code, my first job out of college, and I'm thinking to myself, this industry is totally untapped from a technology standpoint. Yeah, there's some companies that are starting to do some niche things from a true innovation standpoint, but you compare to where it is now and the amount of PE money and the amount of SaaS companies that have gone public and the amount of VC money in the space and driving real value, right? And real capabilities in all the different supply chain technology categories and creating new categories that didn't even exist 5 years ago, like real-time visibility, like that. It just it's immense. Now, I will say, that influx of large amounts of new companies, new entrants, it creates a lot of, disruption in the space, which is good, but it also creates a lot of, fragmentation. And one of the, we talked before about this open ecosystem nature that both companies share. And one of the things that here at Redwood, we've really are striving to draw is letting our customers, from a reality standpoint, being able to embrace that fragmentation. If I want to work with different providers in different categories, how do I do that seamlessly and easily? How do I help, integrate these things together? How do I drive value out of these different technology trends and tools and new things that are coming into the market? How do I help drive innovation on top of all that? And it could be daunting for, chief supply chain officers and the like to be able to think about that across the board. So, one of the biggest things that we see is just that, ability to help, consolidate, to be able to help integrate these seamlessly together is just been a really big value proposition that frankly a lot of our customers and hopefully a lot of our soon to be mutual customers have experience working with Redwood. And honestly, I think it's just going to keep growing in that direction. There's no letting up at this point. We're going to just get more and more innovation and more fragmentation as we go.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I would say not just soon to be mutual customers. We already have one.
We already do, yeah.
Yeah, so even though the partnership's brand new, we've already got a mutual customer. I think that just shows how resonant this is with people. Yeah.
And we can, there's a lot of other topics. Granted, we don't have a ton of time here, but, we are seeing also a ton of, newer capabilities on a lot of different fronts. And, I think that's one of also the kind of the, call it the, cultural value proposition of both companies is, we kind of have our core business, but, both companies like to invest in, newer ideas, right? R&D type work that will help drive value. And I know that's part of the DNA, and some of them stick and some of them don't. But I like that general mentality, and it didn't used to exist within this overarching supply chain technology space, very rarely. So I'm really glad to see that, and a lot of newer entrants from a VC funded SaaS standpoint as well.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Well, Mike, as you mentioned, I think we're running low on time. I could probably sit here and talk shop with you all day, but it was really great talking today. I know we hit the openness concept quite a few times. I just say at the end, supply chain technology and where we're going and how we're thinking about it, it always has to be predicated on the physical aspect of this, right? Like there's ultimately still the transportation involved and the movement of goods from point A to point B to point C. And so that's another thing that I know both of our companies share is we continuously think about the practical application of this, and we don't just hire technologists like myself or like yourself. Both teams are chock full of people who've actually been in the logistics and supply chain space. And I think that's really, really critical as we think about innovation and where we're going. Not just innovation through machine learning and data science. It's innovation from having actually been on a dock and knowing where the pain points are and how to improve that and improve congestion in the yard and improve ETA predictability because you understand driver behavior.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's a mark that some of the newer entrants I feel have missed a little bit. But I think the good companies understand that there has to be that blend, and that's really what drives value at the end of the day, right? Working in a warehouse for most of my teenage years and even beyond that have it's those lessons and the understanding of how some of these things work that really help now in the later parts of our career help kind of bring some new ideas and new fundamentals to the game. So. That being said, I would like to thank everybody for their time today. Vernon, great as always chatting with you. Thanks to you and to Project 44, and I'm really looking forward to continuing our relationship and our partnership, and looking for a lot more great things to come from both companies.